Hello, hello, hello. We are back in action. Drew, lots been going on this off season. We've been grinding. We've been steadily getting after it. But what is this, year 5? So we're just going to keep grooving and doing big things. Welcome to the Around the 412 Fantasy Football Show. I am your host, Joe Frick, still residing in the questionable at best Cleveland, Ohio. With me, as always, the man, the myth, the legend, Dr. Drew Hannis. Dr. Drew, how was your off season? What are you up to? New background's looking pretty sick, I must say.
Yours is. For people that don't know, I'm renovating my house and my wife is on vacation with my son. And if I look to my left here, there's just a big pile of crap that I had to slide out. Right after this, I'm taking my pool table apart. That way I can move it out of the way because I'm redoing the floors and stuff. But a lot has changed on my front. I got a new mic. I finally have 2 screens while we do this thing. That way I don't need you to look things up for me.
Amazing.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. I'm excited to talk about some of the injury stuff that I've been working on as well for the new season. And, it's great to be back, honestly.
It's definitely been a good off season. We've been all over the map. We did a couple shows in the off season, but really hitting the stride now. I've been doing some stuff over at the Fantasy Sports Advice Network. We got the Fantasy Football Expo coming up. Sadly, you won't be there this weekend, but we'll be holding it down. Got the mini mic coming out. So if you're in the area, definitely check it out. I will probably be a mostly coherent representative at the festivities, but it should be a good time. But we got some good things going on today. We're going to go through the normal shaboos, if you will. So we got the injury updates, our headlines. We're going to do some fantasy football tenders, which we actually reached out to people in advance to get the audience vote for the first time. So that should be pretty fun. And then we'll get into a mock draft looking at the early draft position. So probably for the next couple weeks, we're looking at the early draft slots. We're going to be looking at kind of the intermediate draft slots, and then we'll get the back end of things. So we'll hit the front end today, and then we'll close out with our week 1 only fantasy subscriptions for the preseason. So who do we think is going to kind of elevate their draft stock the most going into week 2? But as always, Dr. Drew, we see the lab coat in the back. It's time. Lace them up. Hit us with those injury updates.
Yeah, so I'm just going to rip through a few. But before I do that, I kind of want to talk about a little bit what I've been working on. Joe does so much for this show. And, I really focus on, the week-to-week thing and then, the injury aspect. But I really started to look into injuries over the past several years. I started data mining every single injury that we've had in history. So I basically started last year, and I'm working my way back. I'm already 4 years deep. I have over 1,000 data points for different types of injuries. I break it down by position. I'll break it down by, play style for running backs, wide receivers. And I basically is if this dude had a high ankle injury, I have every single mark of how many weeks he missed. And I broke that down for every single player for the entire season. I did try to rule out some outliers, maybe some fringe guys that may not have gotten helmets week to week, not including those guys because they might not have been hurt enough to not play, but just the fact that they weren't, set up with a hat for that week. So to give it a little bit of a idea of what I'm working on, I took a couple players going into the first week of the preseason. We have some injuries of note, like Darnell Mooney suffered a shoulder injury. It's difficult sometimes to really give you a breakdown of, how many games he might miss. But my goal is to just try to give you a projection, be like, hey, worst case scenario, we're looking at this. Best case scenario, we're looking at this based on what I see. But guys like Darnell Mooney, there's nothing about what his shoulder injury is. So it's more of this is the several weeks type of thing. But a guy like AJ Brown, who suffered a hamstring injury, he's had 2 hamstring injuries in his career in the NFL. Each time he's missed 3 weeks. That's kind of the benchmark I'm trying to look at based on each player. Just kind of give everybody an idea of okay, this is what I think is going to happen. They have a bye week at this point. Kind of like what we did last year with Christian McCaffrey. I was I think he's going to come back in week 9. He had the bye week in week 8, and we hit on that. That was a lucky one, But I'm going to try to give everybody, this is the best case scenario looking at for this player. This is the worst case scenario. Kind of give you an idea of whether or not it might be good to hit their backups on waivers, etc. So again, AJ Brown was one of my examples. He's going to be week to week. But again, this is the preseason, so they're just going to hold him out for as long as he needs to be held out for because he doesn't need the practice time. A.J. Brown is A.J. Brown. He's a star. So they're just going to take it easy with him. Joe Mixon, another example. I really wanted to look into him. It's hard to say what he has right now because they're just calling it an ankle, a foot thing. but he
Right.
suffered a high ankle sprain last year. He missed several weeks. But this was he got hurt outside the facility, and he's on the NFI list. They're saying that he's going to be out for an extended period of time. Honestly, like I think that he can miss the entire preseason, and then you're looking at a guy that might be, a slow contributor in the first few weeks. Khalil Shakir, for example, as well, he also suffered a high ankle sprain. There's no reported cases of him suffering a high ankle sprain in the past, but I kind of got the worst case scenario. If this is a grade 3, worst case scenario is 10 weeks, which I don't think it's that. That's if you're tearing ligaments in your ankle as well as the sprain, and like severe tears, that's 10 weeks. But most guys miss at the most 4 weeks, but it's usually a 2 to 4 week injury. So like that's what you're kind of expecting with guys like Khalil Shakir. So as we go through the season, I'm going to continue to add data points. Right now, I'm back to 2019, and I'm just going to continue going back. I'm working my way backwards, obviously, because medicine progresses each season, so we're going to keep working back. We'll probably try to get at least 5 to 10 seasons worth of data. That way I can just really break down each injury type from grade 1 to grade 3 of everything, and try to find trends with players and the injury type. So I'm looking forward to that. What I do ask, if anybody's concerned about any types of injuries throughout the week, send it to our Twitter account, and then I can try to be prepared with some of those questions for you based on what my data is looking like.
Yeah, good stuff, man. Yeah, it was a great off-season project. We both had off-season projects. One of us made progress on it, the other did not. So that's awesome. We're excited to see how it adds to the show. I think it's going to be a big win. So yeah, those big injuries. I think the biggest one for me, what I wanted to talk about was the Mixon one. It's been so in the dark. We don't really know what's going on with it. Is there anybody in that room that you feel comfortable with right now? Nick Chubb obviously came in. We can't speak ill will in the Frick house about Nick Chubb. Sarah might be listening. You got Woody Marks floating around from USC. Is there a guy off the street that could come in that kind of take things over? Like, what's the vibe you got from that?
Honestly, I'm actually feeling pretty good about Nick Chubb, to be honest. Like, my big concern is that he did sign late, but he is a full year removed now from that major injury. And that's always the thing that we look for, is a guy that's not coming back directly from that major knee injury. And he has that time that he's had the time to rehab and get, work back into it. I still think it's going to be a committee type. I don't think they're going to bring anybody in, because I feel like if they were, they would have done that by now. That way they can get acclimated with the team during the preseason. So I do think it's going to be the Chubb show early on. I think that they're hoping that Mixon comes back at a limited capacity, and then they can just run a committee between both of those guys. Okay. But there's so much up in the air right now, because I think it's a high ankle sprain. That's what I think that it is based on all the stuff I've read. But honestly, there's not enough out there. So it's hard to feel good about. I don't think that they're going to lean on Woody Marks at all. I mean, Dameon Pierce just came back. He might be a guy that, he could be a part of that committee as well. But
yeah, and he's been getting run with the ones too. So we'll see what happens.
And we've seen it from him. I mean, his rookie year, he was great for fantasy owners.
That's your boy.
I mean, I got out of all of his shares because I kind of sold high on that, but that was my boy at the beginning. I liked him as a player, and I hope that he gets another run. I do want to mention a couple other guys quick though before I move on, because I kind of got caught up in what the project was. But yeah, Matthew Stafford, they reported that he has a herniated disc injury. Going into today, I kind of felt like this is just, he's an old guy. Like, I'm 34 years old, and I feel back injuries like every single day from working out. I'm always feeling sore. I kind of thought this is what it was, but he kind of has a major injury now. I'm kind of worried about, because they had to give him an epidural to manage the pain, which is kind of crazy.
Bro had an entire baby. His back hurt so bad. That's crazy.
Yeah, right. So I think he's gonna play through it, because he's a really tough dude, obviously. But it's worse than I thought it was before, a few hours ago. And then TJ Hawkinson also has a groin strain, but he's day to day. Isaiah Likely with the broken fractured foot, so 6 to 8 weeks for him as well. I expect a slow, return for him early on as well. But
yeah, cool, man. Yeah, so we'll keep an eye on those injuries as we're moving through the preseason. I'm excited to see what we do with this project. But let's kick it over a little bit into our headlines for the week. So the big news yesterday out of Los Angeles. Keenan Allen back with the Chargers after a small hiatus to Chicago. they used the pick that they got from Keenan Allen to draft Ladd McConkey. They traded up to get McConkey. McConkey going in the back half of the second round right now, Drew. Now that they have that familiar face who had a really good year with Justin Herbert 2 years ago, Keenan Allen, there wasn't a lot of more people that had more touchdowns than him last year. How does this make you feel about Ladd? Do you still feel good about him? Did you feel good about him before the signing? Like, where do you see this playing out for him?
Honestly, like, I still feel really good about Ladd. I mean, they want to build around him. I'm always skeptical about guys that sign this late into the preseason. You know what I mean? Like, there's like a bug flying on a fly. I think Keenan Allen's going to get his. Yeah. Honestly, like he was a big time star for them for so many years, fan favorite, I'm sure. They're going to want to get him the ball some, but I still think it's going to be the Ladd McConkey show, and I'm feeling good about that. But it's cool to see him back, still playing. I still think he had some left before he had some injuries late last year. So
yeah, I get a lot of Zay Flowers from Ladd McConkey, where it's like you're in this run first offense. How much can you really do as the number one offense when they're not throwing it a lot? And the more murky that situation becomes, the less good I feel about Ladd McConkey. I think at the current price point, at like the back half of the second round, I don't feel great about that. I think he's like a back end of the third kind of guy. I think that his ADP could probably push more back towards that now with this new signing, because I mean Keenan Allen still looked pretty decent last year. But yeah, I think that the offense doesn't really change. They know what they're going to do. They're going to be running the ball first, and it just gives Herbert another weapon. So we'll see what shakes there.
Yeah, we'll see if that corrects at all, his ADP. I mean, it's still really early on. That's what I love about doing these drafts early, because like you see so many like ADPs change throughout the preseason.
Yeah, it's I actually hate it because you have so much reactionary stuff. And then for me, I always like to draft the week of the season just because of injuries. You don't see as many now because they're so cautious with how many player like reps that they get in the preseason. But I think like 10 years ago, it was like that third preseason game, they're playing through the third quarter. Someone big was going to go down. And then it was like, well, I drafted that guy. My season's over. It's like I wanted to eliminate as much of that as I can, but I do feel like they're a little bit more cautious now. So we'll see what happens. In other news, this is probably on a lighter note. I don't think that there's much to say on this, but we will point it out because this is a fantasy football show. Teams are starting to release depth charts ahead of their first preseason game. We saw RJ Harvey listed as RB5 on the Denver depth chart. Drew, do you have any concerns about RJ Harvey and his standing on the Broncos right now, based on what we've seen in camp? And do you have any reservations with where he is currently being drafted based on this news?
I think that Sean Payton, who just walked in, played a little Kendrick Lamar for me, said, stay humble and sit down. Like, this is just what Tomlin does, bro. Like, he just, they love getting these rookies in there, and then they're just like, you need to earn your spot. That's just all that this is. Like, there's no way that he's fifth. Like, he used to be on Tyler Beatty and like a guy I'd never even heard of. Like, it's a load of crap. I mean, I do actually think there's some stock in the Dobbins being one part of it. But like, I still think it's going to be a committee between the two of those guys.
Right. Yeah, I do think that it's interesting that they signed Dobbins as late as they did. You would have thought that they might have pulled that trigger sooner if they were going to go with that committee approach. But yeah, it's obviously one of those things that we see every year. You saw it last year with some of the rookies, and then by the next game, it's like, oh, they jumped up 3 spots in the depth chart. It's like a lot of the head coaches don't even make the depth charts at this point or ever. They don't care. They're going to play who they need to play. Like, the person who's starting doesn't matter. So it's one of those things where you can try to buy low, I guess, on Harvey, but like anybody with half a brain cell is like, okay, this doesn't mean anything.
I don't remember when Dobbins signed, but I just have this feeling like they were definitely in on Amari and Hampton. I really think that they were, and the fact that they didn't get him is, I think, would change that whole approach. Because if they get a guy like Amari and Hampton, I don't think that they signed Dobbins, and I think that
they signed him June 10th.
Yeah, so I just think that they had eyes on some of these other running backs in the first round. It didn't work out. They got Harvey in round 2, and then they just got a compliment for him. I think that's the way it played out.
No, I hear you. All right, so let's shift things over a little bit. We are going to go to Fantasy Football Tinder. So for our friends at home, just a friendly reminder of how this works. So this is Fantasy Football Tinder. And what we're going to do is we are going to take a look at our small screens. Let's jump into, where are my overlays? Everything just disappeared on the right side of the screen. This is awesome. You gotta love StreamYard sometimes, right? Where are my backgrounds? I literally can't see any backgrounds at all.
It's on the screen right now.
No, I know it's on the screen, but I can't see like to shift this. It's like gone. There we go. And we're good. Okay, we're back. We're also in preseason form, as you can see. But this is Fantasy Football Tinder. Fantasy Football Tinder is a great way for us to kind of poll the world and stay in touch with technology, because us married men are not on Tinder, but we do enjoy making hot takes and swiping from time to time. So to give you an example of how Fantasy Football Tinder will work, this is our friend Zach. Zach got a follow from the mightiest dog.
Bullshit, honestly.
The mightiest dog of the land, the one, the only, Pretty Ricky himself.
So jealous. So pissed.
But do we have any concerns that the follow is going to get to Mr. Smith's head? For all of us true friends of Zachary Smith, we know that he already was Pittsburgh Steelers Twitter. We already know that he is good friends with Pat Fryermuth. We already know that he's in the DMs for all the hottest dudes and babes and does all of these great things. So we are not worried about it at all. He's still going to be a good person. So we are going to swipe right on Zach and his morality. For all those people that think he is going to be a sellout, he's going to do all this stuff, they may be swiping left. They're going to say no. So if you're following with us on the stream, you're watching, you'll see it. We'll have the X's pop up when we swipe left. We will have the hearts pop up when we are swiping right. And Drew, let's start with the Heisman Trophy winner, Travis Hunter. So it was reported that Hunter was going to be playing 80% of the snaps whenever we were looking at the offensive side of the ball for the Jacksonville Jaguars. So we talked to some of the folks on Twitter. The Twitter folks, the streets are saying that they are feeling pretty 50-50 on Travis Hunter, right? So if I'm looking at the stats from Twitter, we have 53.8% of the folks that voted said that they feel comfortable taking Travis Hunter at his ADP. Drew, first Tinder of the year. Is 80% of the snaps enough for you to go goodwill huntering on Travis Hunter?
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about this since the draft, and I don't think I've ever wavered from the fact that I thought that he was going to be a full-time wide receiver. 80% is close enough to a full-time wide receiver, in my opinion. There's going to be a lot of snaps where they're going to be running the football. He's not going to be out there for those snaps. He's not a guy you're going to have out there as a blocker. You know what I mean? Like, he's a guy that, for me, it's all vibes that I'm swiping right, because like we haven't seen it yet. I know that we talked pre-show about, some of the things that you were concerned about. And I hear him. I actually think that it's definitely something to be worried about. It doesn't mean you're not swiping right or left, like we're talking about your thoughts, and I hear you with some of these things, but I just think the dude's a superstar. Like, there's just some guys that are just bred to be good football players and like be on the big show and like just crush it. And that's what Travis Hunter is. And I just, no matter where he, who he played for, what quarterback he was going to be getting the ball from, to me, I think he's just going to be a star. And I do think Brian Thomas Jr. is really good, but I even think Travis Hunter can be the number one guy just because it's Travis Hunter. And I'm going to continue to roll and swipe right with him. I know you went off of 12-team leagues. I always stick to standard 10 just because that's the way most of the sites calculate him. And he's going in the 7th round in 10-teamers. That's really good. I mean, we talked about some guys he's going next to, like George Pickens and Jameson Williams. Like, I like those guys, but like that, I'm not going to swipe left on Hunter just because I like some of those guys just as much. Like, I would draft any of them. Whichever one fell to me, I'm good with. I'm going to have Hunter stock. I don't have anything in Dynasty because I didn't want to take that risk that early on when you're drafting in May.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna have him in redraft if he's there in those rounds because I feel good about him. I just think he's gonna take the scene and just be the talk of ESPN for years, and he's gonna be putting up a lot of points because of this play. And I feel really good about it. And it was always, I mean, from what I'm saying, I should have probably bought into him on Dynasty because like it was always just what position in the NFL is going to make the most impact on a football team.
Right.
In today's day and age, you want to score as many points as possible. Getting the most impact at Travis Hunter has always been a wide receiver. So like I really shouldn't have been scared of drafting him in Dynasty, but like we have enough clarity now that like I feel good about picking him. I'm not going to reach over if he starts to rise into some of these like elite guys that we've seen be top 20, 25 wide receivers or top 15 wide receivers. But like where he's going now, I feel good about it. And I'm going to have some shares of him if his ADP stays around where it's at.
So you hinted at this a little bit, and I will put the caveat in that Travis Hunter, from a dynasty perspective, going into the season was my wide receiver one. So I had him over Tet. I love Tet. If you would ask me 6 months ago, I think that I would have been all in on Tet just for what he did as early as a freshman. But like you said, Travis Hunter, absolute star. However, I am swiping left, and it is not a reflection of Travis Hunter. This, to me, is a Trevor Lawrence problem. So if I look at the numbers for Trevor Lawrence in the past 4 years, Trevor Lawrence pressured completion percentage. 2021, he was 32nd in the league. 2022, he was 14th in the league. 2023 takes another step back, 28th in the league. 2024, 36th in the league. So there's people that weren't even starting who were doing better under pressure than he was last season, right?
He was hurt, though. Like,
he was hurt.
I would throw last year out the window because the dude was playing with like a broken shoulder.
But he was still 28th in 2023.
Yeah.
Right. So last year, like you said, he had the shoulder. I get that. His red zone completion percentage, 26th. His receiver target separation, 26th. So there was a lot of problems there on that offense. Travis Hunter is one of those guys who is a technician when it comes to route running. So that sort of stuff should improve. They should be better in the red zone. They should be better at like getting players open because they have BTJ. They have Travis Hunter. However, everybody is pointing to Cohen and what he did for Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield had similar numbers before he got there. Baker Mayfield this, Baker Mayfield that. But here's the fact of the matter. The offensive line for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is maybe the best pass blocking team in the league.
Also, I wouldn't give Liam Cohen the credit for bringing Baker back around. It was, what was his, Dave Canales was the OC before that, right?
Yeah, but he increased his touchdowns by like 46%. His yards increased by 11%. Like
I still feel like Baker, like he turned it around and just last year was just like his growth took the next step because he got it together before that.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like, yes, Jacksonville got the weapons. They've added to the team. But if you have a player that's not doing well under pressure and your offensive line is ranked 26 going into the year and they're at best going to be average, how does that work for the second receiving option for that team? So for me, it's just like players that I would rather have right now. I'd rather have T-Mac, Tyrell McMillan, even though he's also a rookie. It feels very much to the Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors situation last year, where it's like Malik Neighbors doesn't really have any competition. Who does McMillan have also in Carolina? Adam Thielen, Jalen Coker, like whatever. Like he is going to be the number one guy going in. Travis Hunter may get to that point, but Brian Thomas is a hell of a ball player, right? Jalen Waddle, we've seen what Tua can do and has supported both him and Hill to be a top 12 wide receiver, and Hill's already hurt. Calvin Ridley, I'm liking what I'm seeing from Cam Ward. He's going to be the number one option. So give me the number one guy. And even Chris Olave, I feel like people are writing off Chris Olave because of the concussions and all that stuff. But I would take Chris Olave over him, and you don't have to agree with that.
I think Chris Olave is the most underrated player in fantasy right now.
So I would take any of those guys over him. I know, like you were saying, he's going like around pick 74. For me, it's just like it's a Trevor Lawrence problem for me more than anything else.
I think that where we differ mainly is that like I have Lawrence as a sleeper this year. I think last year the injuries and then the year before that he didn't have the playmakers. They were just a bad team. Like
sure.
I think this is the first year where he could take a leap, and I think that like he was the guy I targeted heavily in Fishbowl, but I didn't get him. Like he was who I wanted to be my QB2.
Yeah, because he has that little bit of rushing upside and everything else. It's just that he's never thrown for 30 touchdown passes. He might get you 300 yards rushing, but like that doesn't do anything for Hunter.
Yeah, I the thing is, like, I'm not a Bryce Young guy. You are, and I just think that Trevor Lawrence is going to be better. They paid him, and I think it's just time for him to take the next step. And I think Liam Cohen's going to help him do that. And just those playmakers, I just think he's going to be. I just think they're going to be better, and I think he's going to be better. But like it's a full projection because Trevor Lawrence has to be better. If he doesn't be better, it's not going to work out. But when he was healthy last year, he did help Brian Thomas Jr.
I think that Brian Thomas Jr. did a lot better with Mac Jones than he did with Trevor Lawrence.
Well, I mean, he was doing well all season. I just at the end he really blew up, but like he was a good player for most of the season.
Not to the level that he's being drafted based on what he did with Mac Jones and expecting that Trevor Lawrence is able to do the same with him.
Okay, so let's look at this again mid-season. Because I just think Trevor Lawrence is going to be better this year, but I could be completely wrong because like we haven't seen it. I just think that it's time that he's going to be better. I don't know.
The other player that's going around in this area, I would also take Pickens over.
George, I would take. George is in that range. George is the first guy I'm taking because I mean the Cowboys are going to throw it a ton,
right?
And it's a way better offense. But like that's different. I would rather have. I think I would rather have Hunter over JMO because I just don't think there's enough ball in Detroit. I mean, I think Sun God's even hurting. Like he was very much touchdown dependent for a lot of last year, but he was scoring the touchdowns. He wasn't getting the targets the way he did in previous years. So like I just don't think there's enough ball there for all of those guys. I mean, Samuel Porter really hurt, but then as the season went on, he got a higher target share and he did better. But like I don't think there's enough ball there for me to feel comfortable with JMO. I would definitely take George. I think I would take Ridley as well because I do think I'm seeing good things from Cam Ward. I think that he just has a really good head on his shoulders and he really he works and I think that he's going to do well as well. But it's just the Hunter vibe is just something I can't sell because I just think
it's a good upside play. Like at the point, it depends on how you construct your team, right? If you're saying that Hunter's going to be your first guy off the bench and that like you don't need to immediately throw him into a starting spot because you didn't really mess with quarterback or tight end really, yeah, sure, I can support that. But if he's going to go into your lineup like week one because you took a QB and a tight end early, to me, I don't really like that at all.
Yeah, and that's not really I guess that's not really the strategy that I've had. I mean, I've always been very heavy. Like I think I'm more hero running back the last few years, and I have a lot of receivers when I get to that point.
Yeah.
But I also really haven't done as many mock drafts as I usually have by this point because I think I was really focused on Fishbowl and I start up right now. I'm really, I'm heavy in right now. But
so let's jump into Tinder number 2. So speaking of quarterbacks that people are hoping to take a leap, this one's probably a year too late because everybody expected this leap to happen last year. But let's talk about our boy, Anthony Richardson. So last season, this guy was supposed to break fantasy football, and he broke it, but in ways that were just bad for everyone that had shares of him. Didn't complete 50% of his passes. There was a lot to dislike. The Colts were obviously not feeling great about it because they went and got Vanilla Vic, Danny Dimes, and they were having some conversations about whether or not Richardson was even going to be able to retain his starting spot. So it looks like game 1 is going to go to Anthony Richardson. Game 2, Daniel Jones to be getting the start. So there's clearly a quarterback competition here right now. The people have spoken. Overwhelmingly, 76% of the folks online said that this is a rags to a riches story. They will give Anthony Richardson one more chance. Drew, what do you think about Anthony Richardson going into the season?
It's really funny that that's what the poll said. It's also really funny that we had this same discussion in the preseason last year. I'm pretty sure we had Anthony Richardson as a Tinder then. Probably. And I was all in on him and I swiped right. Also, I don't remember what I swiped, but I'm just going to go through what I did. I love his ADP, though. That I'm really much bought into. I don't think I would have him as my QB2 I think I swiped left. I wouldn't have him as I wouldn't have him as my QB2 because I think that there's so much risk here. And the reason why I'm not gonna have him in my rosters is because I'm not gonna have a third quarterback on my team. I'm just not gonna do that. But last year I was all in because in year one, his rookie year, he only played in 4 games. He left 2 of them early, but he was a top 5 quarterback in the 2 games that he finished. But last year, that completely flipped. He was out of the top 25 in most weeks. He was out of the top 20 if he was inside the top 25. I think that he only had 3 top 10 finishes last year. And they must have been multiple rushing touchdown games. He had 5 finishes outside the top 20 and 8 outside the top 10. Not much has changed to their pass catchers. They're not any different. They still have Josh Downs, guy that's been struggling with injuries the last few years. Michael Pittman was basically broken half last year. He's coming back. They have A.D. Mitchell, which I'm hoping that he's a guy that takes the next step. And then they have Alec Pierce, but they haven't done anything that wowed me that makes me feel any better about it. And then I've been hearing that he looks better, but where's the video? Like usually there's video where people will try to at least increase his stock and like, hey, he looks good, but it's just words, right? Like I've seen more videos of him overthrowing guys, of Daniel Jones standing right next to him and hitting the guy in the chest, than I have of Anthony Richardson actually doing well. It's just all been he said, she said in terms of what Anthony Richardson's doing in preseason or in training camp. I haven't seen it, and I was all in last year, but I'm not going to let my eyes deceive me. Like I know what he looked like last year. He looked like a dude that hasn't played enough quarterback, which is exactly what he was when he was drafted. It was all about his legs, but when he runs, he hasn't been able to stay healthy. So what's there to feel good about other than his ADP? Like if you want to take a shot at him because he's going around 17, I have no problem with that. I did the same thing in Fishbowl. I got him in round 14 in Fishbowl. Like I feel good about that.
Me too.
Yeah, I feel good about that. But I am not going to go into a redraft with him as one of my quarterbacks because I'm probably going to get someone I feel way better about, and then I'd rather take another guy I feel safer just in case there's an injury than a guy that's not going to be safe at all. Like he's a huge home run play, but you could probably get him off waivers if you feel good about it. Like if you just make sure you're a week ahead, I don't think he's going to get drafted in many redraft leagues. So I feel good about, just watching it and waiting it out. And I think that there's a real chance that Daniel Jones does get the job, but I drafted Richardson and Fishbowl because I think that there's definitely going to be a point this year where he plays. Even if he doesn't win the job, I do think that he starts at some point because I don't believe in Daniel Jones either. So
right. So just to keep this moving, I swiped right. I'm with the people. So we split the popular vote. But to your point, yes, like we have all of these things that he shouldn't be good because of XYZ. But at the end of the day, they added Tyler Warren. So if you look at what he should need to be successful, you have an elite running back. You have multiple good receivers. And then you have Adonai Mitchell, who apparently balled out in practice as well today against the Ravens.
Well, he's so sick. Right?
Then you have one of the best offensive lines in football. So from an offensive perspective, they have pretty much everything that he needs to be successful.
Besides Tyler Warren, though, it's the same for me. That's all I did. I like the pieces, but nothing's changed, right? Besides Warren.
I mean, that's a big change.
Why didn't you interrupt me and be like, hey, Tyler Warren's there? Because I agree with you.
I'm letting you cook. So even though he only played 11 games, he was 6th in carries. He had 86 carries. He was 5th in red zone carries with 19, 6th in rushing yards with 499, and 6 TDs, so he was 3rd. So the upside is still there. Everything that you drafted him for last year, that same thing still applies. I don't typically carry 2 quarterbacks in redraft because you can get people off of waivers. But in the off chance that he does start week 1 and he does blow up, and he does kind of have this late bloom to his game like Josh Allen did or something like that, I would rather already have him on my bench than not. So I'll take a last round flyer on him. Otherwise, I mean, I get it. There's a lot of negative about him. I've never been an Anthony Richardson guy as like a professional football player, but I don't need him to be good at real life football to be real life good in fantasy.
It's
So
so funny because I feel like we had this argument a month ago, and I was you, and then
yeah,
I flipped to what you are now. But I swipe left because I don't think that I'm going to carry enough quarterbacks to have them. That's really what it comes down to.
it's just the other guys that are down there. He's the only one that provides like true rushing upside.
And he's getting drafted around Jackson Dart and Shedeur Sanders.
And those
like,
guys aren't even going to play this year.
Right. I just don't think that I'm going to have a quarterback long before I get to that point. So I don't think he's going to be on my roster. So I'm going to swipe left.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay, so we're going to transition over to Sleeper real quick before we get to our only fantasy predictions for week 1. So I'm going to shuffle some stuff around here real quick, and we are going to pull up the screen. So, Drew, let's get into it. We're going to do this draft from one of the early slots here. So I took slot 2. So that will allow us to kind of just see things a little bit better. But what is your overall draft strategy if you are picking from like one of the early spots? So say like 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been hero. I'm very heavy hero running back because running backs obviously have the greatest chance of injury.
Yeah.
I'm going to do the same thing and say the same thing I did last year. If you recall, I was not a Christian McCaffrey guy last year. For some reason, I always hate the vibe around the guy that's like unanimous 1-1.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, they get hurt every year. If you go back the last 5 years, every single one of those guys missed time.
Right.
And then they didn't pay off every single time. And that's Jamar
It's been like a crazy run. Like the last, like even you go back to like 2016, like David Johnson, like far back.
Yeah. It's real. And like Le'Veon Bell was the unanimous 1-1 and he ended up not showing up. Like there's always been something with the unanimous 1-1. It just doesn't work out. And Chase is that guy. Bijan's also starting to creep up into that. A lot of people are having him as their 1-1.
Right.
I don't necessarily feel that way about Bijan.
Why are you saying it like that?
That's his name. You didn't see the thing that he went out on NFL Network or something and said that everybody's been saying wrong is Bijan?
Nope, it's Bijan. I don't care. I'm not changing now. He had his time.
And he also like was on a commercial or branded for Dijon mustard, so like everybody thought it was that for that reason, but like it was always just Bijan. So like I'm trying to like actually call him what his name is, but
I respect it. So would you take Bijan Robinson at 2 then, given that Chase is most likely going to go off the board 1, or are you going to pivot to something else out of fear of pivot?
Bijan's been my target in the top 3 or 4 picks in every mock I've done.
Yeah.
He's my hero running back for this year. If
I could be your hero, baby. Yeah, I agree. I think like the top 6 for me is pretty much set in stone. So I've got Chase, Robinson, Gibbs, Lamb, and then there's one other player that I would put up like into that mix. Barkley. And then CMC for me, I know that you kind of have reservations about the injury thing. CMC slides to me at 106. So
I have no reservation for CMC this year.
Yeah.
Like I will draft him in round 1 if that's the spot that I'm in.
Yeah.
I feel great about him, honestly. And Isaac Guerrero suffered a shoulder injury. So like, I don't think that he's going to be in a committee. I think he's going to have the work that he had pre Achilles tendonitis. I really do. I feel great about him, actually.
So back on the clock, we got Drake London. We could double tap on the Atlanta Falcons. Other players in this range, we're looking at Bucky Irving, Josh Jacobs. If you're feeling really frisky, you want to go Josh Allen this early, which I wouldn't recommend. We've got Ladd McConkey, who we talked about earlier in the show. Then you're looking at like your Trey McBrides, JSN, so on and so forth. So do you have any reservations? I know Drake London's kind of like a dark horse wide receiver 1 overall this season for a lot of people. Would you feel comfortable double dipping into the Atlanta offense like this, or would you want to diversify your early picks?
I don't like the way this board fell for us already, honestly. Like I wouldn't. That's not really my strategy to double dip on an offense like that, unless it's like an offense that I know is going to be on the field a lot. They're going to throw the ball a lot or run a lot of plays. Michael Penix is out here saying that they're going to be one of the best offenses in football, but like I don't buy it. I mean, I want to whisper into the mic here that I do believe in Kyle Pitts this year for some reason. Just get off.
Hey, Kyle Pitts has increased his touchdown production, 1 touchdown every season that he's been in the league. So he's a lock for 5 touchdowns this year. So do that. Do with that what you will. But we're going to touch on a very much even hotter take than this right now. Our buddy Chad has entered the chat, and he said that Bucky Irving's about 11 rounds too early here. So welcome back, Chad. Good to see you, my friend. I don't know if you're going to be at the Expo this year, but 11 rounds too early is pretty insane.
I don't even know what to say to that, honestly.
You've broken Drew, and we haven't even reached the start of the season yet. So,
I won't have a lot of Bucky Irving shares personally, but I actually think he's a really good running back. I think my biggest complaint about Bucky Irving is that the sleeper Twitter account is absolutely obsessed with him to the point where he needs a restraining order.
Yeah.
But I got my running back early. It's going to be Bijan or CMC. I don't see myself having a lot of Bucky, but
so then where are we going from here? So based off of what we're hearing, we're saying that Ladd's probably too early. We don't want to double dip on London. I think if you didn't have Robinson here, London would be a run to the podium guy for me at this point, but I'm with you. Do I want to go all in on Atlanta? Probably not. For me right now, I'm probably taking Trey McBride here just because I would prefer to take him at the 3-2, but why risk it? Because the other guys that are in this range are more or less indifferent to me. I'm punting on elite quarterbacks this season, but I do want to get one of the elite tight ends if I can help it. I think that Trey McBride is the tight end 1 over Brock Bowers this year. Shout out to the better hairline. Shout out to having a better production on less targets on a points per game basis. And I think that the Vegas Raiders running the ball more this year is going to have a negative impact on the passing game, even though they have a better quarterback this year in Geno Smith. So for me, I don't know if you feel the same. I would be going McBride here.
I'm in on McBride too. He was the guy I was going to say.
Great.
I'm not really. I actually feel like I want to get an elite quarterback this year because I feel like in recent years there has been enough separation with the elite quarterbacks for me. Like I think I want to get a Josh Allen or a Lamar Jackson, and at your spot that team one's going to take one of the two guys and the other one's going to make it back to you at your spot. I would go Lamar here, but I'm okay.
So I actually like what you're saying here because the smaller the league, the more value that you get from having elite players. So it's like I saw a question that was sent to me the other day, and it was like, hey, what should I do? I'm keeping in a 10-team or an 8-team league. And it's like people like to crap on 8-team leagues, they're not even real, your bench is so deep, but it's just a different game. It's hey, it's not hey, how do I have good depth on my bench for bye weeks and this that. It's how do I acquire the best players and how do I make the best roster decisions because there's always going to be a good guy out there on waivers. So I don't think you can discredit it. But to your point, in a 10-team league, we were just talking about how players like George Pickens, how Travis Hunter, these guys would be available in those rounds. Wide receiver ones like Calvin Ridley. So if you can double tap here and you know that Trey McBride's going to be a dog from tight ends, you know that you can take Lamar Jackson, but you can still get those other pieces still. I like that. So let's do it. Let's see how it shakes. This goes against I like to punt on one position in the draft. Quarterback, I feel good about punting on, but I get the gist of it here.
I would there's more likely that I wouldn't take McBride in round 2, but he was my best player available in that spot. It was either him or Ladd. But you're right. I think that you can get better wide receivers later on. Devontae Adams would have been perfect here. That would have been a guy I would have targeted here. Yeah. I'm not as worried about Rashee Rice suspension. I know he's going to get one probably, but it's probably going to be 2 or 3 games, right? And
so we talked about this a little bit before the show. So Addison got 3 games. He was a bit of a more severe situation than Addison was. So do you double it?
I just feel like the NFL, more often than not, they're in the 2 to 3 range. If you get a 4, usually they'll appeal and they'll drop a game. I just feel like historically it's been more like that. I feel like you just try to get through it. One of the best teams I've had and won a championship with in my history of playing fantasy football, I took Le'Veon Bell at the 1-2 turn when he got suspended.
Right.
And he won me that league. you want to sneak by early on, but I feel like these guys are just too good for the long haul. You're going to get enough games out of them that I feel good about it. It stinks that he's probably he's your wide receiver 1 in this case, which kind of stinks. But like, I feel like you can get by in a 10-team league.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
I
so
like Kamara here as well. I mean, I know
those would be my two guys. I think that Mike Evans is perpetually slept on. He's kind of a guarantee for 1,000 yards to like 10 TDs. So I think if you didn't have the questions about the suspension, Rashee Rice would be already off the board.
Yeah, and that's why I would pick him, because I think that you're going to get more out of him in the long haul. And the one thing I have reservation about Mike Evans, like I have a lot of shares with him, especially in Dynasty, but like he's this guy that, like, of course he's getting those 1,000 a lot of TDs, but he's very boom or bust, where he'll get a big chunk of those things and like he'll have some games that are duds, but then he'll just have some absolute smash games that, like,
yeah,
that's how he's getting those numbers. So like I've always been weird about that. You know how I am, like the Tyler Lockett types, but Mike Evans is like, he's not on that level.
Yeah,
but he's a guy that I'd rather have Rice.
Right. And I think here, like, this is my beef with the strategy right now, is it's like I could have got more elite assets up front. George Kittle, Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, all still sitting right there.
Yeah.
So it's like I probably wouldn't want to go through this, like, looking back in hindsight. But, you know, hindsight, always 2020.
I feel like the AI of Sleeper, though, isn't drafting the way I think people that I play fantasy football with would draft.
And that's important too. You have to know your league. You have to know how people are going to do things. So that's definitely important. Chad, we can definitely take a look at your Rasball draft. So he was one of the top guys there. That was pretty awesome. So yeah, send us that and we'll definitely take a look at it. But
what is Rasball?
Rasball's like another like charity type of thing. Yeah. So you mentioned Kamara. Is there anybody else on the board that you would rather have here? I know you mentioned kind of being a hero RB. Does the idea of like a DJ Moore or a Metcalf do anything for you?
Are you a DK guy this year?
No. We're a run first team with 20 tight ends. Like DK will eat. I don't think we've seen anything from an Artie Smith offense that's given a wide receiver more than 120 targets. I think the most that AJ Brown ever got was 118. So it's like, unless he's going to get really force fed, which he might, but I don't see it. We'll see what happens. Yeah, I would, if we're choosing between those two wide receivers, I'd take DJ Moore. I think they'll use him in more ways. And I think that like he'll get more than 8 rushing attempts. So I like kind of the versatility of that offense.
I feel like I'd probably take Kamara here though, because I just think
I would too. Kamara is like a clear pick for me there, so we'll snag that. We'll just have to really start hitting heavy on the wide receivers on the next round here. Okay, so he just popped up the team. So he's got Jetta, Bowers, Brees, Zay, Pickens, Stroud, Egbuka, Pitts, Kupp, Sampson, Ray Davis, Eckler, Trey Benson, Bryce Young, Rico Dowdle, Adney Mitchell, Aaron Rodgers. So I like the bones of it. Stroud doesn't really excite me from a fantasy quarterback. That offensive line's even worse than it was last year.
Oh my God. It's going to be horrible.
They do have the weapons for it. So I do like that aspect of it. And then you kind of have the Bryce Young play late. I always like when you're in these kind of bigger formatted tournaments when people switch out to get handcuffed. So snagging Sampson, having Ray Davis, Trey Benson, like that's how you do well in those things, is you have handcuffs for guys that you don't look like, that you don't have on your team, so that you can go and do well on top of the players that you already have. I think the worst pick that I would say out of the whole group is going to be Cooper Kupp. I didn't know that Cooper Kupp got paid to go to Seattle, all this stuff. I guess he got traded and then they had the extension or whatever. But I just don't see it with him. His separation metrics are dramatically dropped off since the Triple Crown year. He's been perpetually hurt, hasn't played more than 11 games in like 3 years. So to me, that one's a little bit questionable, but otherwise I like the bones. Drew, any thoughts?
I mean, I agree with a lot of what you said. There's a lot that I like here. The big thing for me is, and you're not going to like this, I'm just not a Brees guy. I know that we talk about this a lot. You took him at Fishbowl. He was 2 years removed from his ACL last year, and I thought that he looked slow. Like, he got caught from behind way too much. I thought he looked healthier the year before, and I'm just really worried about it. I think that he's going to be the odd man out in that backfield by end of year, and I think that he's not going to be on the team.
Boo, hiss, tomato, tomato, tomato. I think he's going to be the second reception person on the
He
team,
might
especially
get
now
he
that
might get
Mason
a lot of
Taylor has the sprained
receptions.
ankle.
He might get a lot of receptions, but I think if they're bad early, I think he's going to be off the team. I think that Braylon Allen's the guy you want.
Let me get Brees Hall to the Cowboys. Sign it up. I'm good for that. Based on our conversation before, I'm not going to hold the chat up. I'm going to take George Pickens here because we already said that he would be the first guy in that range of guys that we just talked about.
Yep.
So I'm going to go and do that. Coming back on the flip side, Travis Hunter, your boy, just going off the board at 7-1. Are you going to go wide receiver or running back here? So you got Tet, Harvey, Isaiah Pacheco, Jalen Waddle, Chris Olave.
Yeah. Knowing you, I think you would take Tet. I, shockingly enough, of these guys left, I think I prefer Olave.
I would actually do the same. I hate taking rookie wide receivers early, despite the fact that he doesn't have a lot of competition. It'll be interesting to watch the Spencer Rattler show unfold, but Chris Olave is going to be the number one in that offense. I think people forget how good he is at football.
And they're going to be losing all the time. They're going to have to throw so much. I'm not really concerned about his concussions. Like, if he does take a bad hit, yeah, but like, it's not something that I'm going to sit here and, predict happening. And I'm not going to draft him as if I expect it to happen. So I'm pulling for him to be okay.
I actually would have considered Swift or Pacheco there as well. Just looking at like the way that the wide receivers came back. Like, I love Ridley this year. Jacoby Myers is one of my guys. I think he has a great floor. So I think that, to me, like, we're starting to hit like the running back dead zone. You've got the Caleb Johnson, Tyrone Tracy. There's not really a lot more. Travis Etienne, Jalen Warren. There's not much there. But then you still have players like Ricky Pearsall could be a wide receiver one for San Francisco, the way that they're dropping like flies over there. So I know you love you some Caleb. Are we taking Caleb here?
I don't think there's many running backs left after him that I think that have the upside. So Jalen Warren's going to start early, but he's the guy that can give you league-winning upside later in the year.
Yeah,
and I want to own him for that reason.
Right. Coming back on the flip, Calvin Ridley, Jacoby Myers. I think out of the two, I'm probably leaning Ridley just for the upside. Jacoby Myers is a great floor, but to me, it's like Calvin Ridley. He's going to get a lot of targets. He's not at the age cliff yet. I think there's a lot of good that can come from that.
Do you like Diggs this year?
I do like Diggs coming off the ACL. Who else do they have to throw to? Pop Douglas has been having a good camp for what they say, but they paid Diggs to be the number one. If you look at what he did in Houston,
I prefer Diggs to Ridley. I like Ridley a lot, but I think I trust Drake May's leap more than Cam Ward year one. But I like Ridley too. But I just think that Diggs looks like a guy that his arrogance as a wide receiver, I don't think he has any mental hurdle from his ACL. I just don't think that he's that type of guy that gives a crap, and I think that he's going to be good.
So the swollest person in the chat has arrived. Zachary Smith, fresh off a workout. Love the hustle. Kid's been grinding out there. See how good he looked in that Aaron Rodgers tee. Looking.
I said
good,
would.
Definitely would.
I was talking about the shirt though.
Would the both. I would in the shirt even. Do you think we start seeing Puka slip to round 2 as the Stafford saga continues? What about round 3? I do think Puka's going to slip into the second round.
If he slips in the second round, I'd be so happy if I had a second round pick that he'll be there for.
And we made Zach blush, so that's great. So we're back on the clock. We got Ricky Pearsall, Najee with his one eye, Javonte Williams, Emeka Egbuka. That's kind of be fun. You got Sharbo, Jordan Mason. We're starting to get into kind of like dart throw land. Any darts that you want to throw?
This is tough. I kind of like Pearsall this year. Ayuk's coming off the ACL. Obviously, I expect him to. He's probably going to start in the pup. Yeah, and he'll have a slow start. Jawan Jennings is holding out, so like Pearsall's the only guy there right now who's really working with Purdy. I kind of like that, and obviously the year 2 jump. We loved him a lot last year as a player coming out of Florida. I like Pearsall here. I mean, if we didn't have McBride, we'd probably be looking at Warren there or Njoku.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, I really love the value that you're getting out of Mark Andrews. I know everybody's all charged up about like what was going to happen with Isaiah Likely, but Isaiah Likely had one good game week 1 last year and then did nothing with it. And Mark Andrews is still the red zone target for Lamar Jackson. Yes, they brought in DeAndre Hopkins. He may take away from that a little bit, but Mark Andrews is in round 10. Like, that's absurd to me. Yeah, he struggled at the beginning of the year, but he was in a car accident. And I don't think he recovered from that too early. But there's no way that I'm taking the ghost of Travis Kelce, Jonnu Smith, like David Njoku. Like, none of those guys should be even remote ballpark as Mark.
It's so funny that our favorite team just completely killed Jonnu Smith.
We'll see. I have no idea. I mean, they got that man running like out of the backfield doing all this stuff, so it'll be interesting to see. I feel like we're way too heavy on the running backs or like on the wide receivers right now. I guess it's not that bad. So we got the 4 and the 3.
Well, with Rice having the suspension.
Yeah, so with Rice having the suspension, I don't feel great about Javonte. I like the upside of Egbuka here, but otherwise it's like, who do you like out of like the running back handcuffs? Like, who are players that you're targeting? The number one for me this year is Ray Davis. I can't leave drafts without him. You have the holdout happening right now with James Cook.
James Cook's going to sign by our next show.
You think?
Yes. All the reports were that he was just waiting on Kyron Williams' deal, so he had that benchmark. I think I'm not a Ray Davis guy because I think James Cook's going to play. But
well, then let's take it and we can see where the board falls. Because
I want to ask you about Javonte quick though, because he was your mid-season only fantasy right after the draft.
No,
what changed? Yeah, he was.
Javonte?
I had Justin Fields. You had Javonte. He was your only fantasy for our last show.
So yeah, well, he's looking terrible. That's what happened. He doesn't look any faster. He's looking absolutely awful. That's my beef with him right now.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, like he's not doing a whole lot of nothing. I think that I don't know what the answer to the Dallas running back situation is going to be. I have some hunches on what I think is going to happen this weekend, but we'll see where we go. So we need another running back. You feel anything about Ramondre? Tajay Spears, I think, could be decent.
Did you see how there was like a training camp article about Tajay Spears, and they're like, he's gonna have 100 carries this year, and they wrote it as if that was like really good. Did you see that?
That's not a lot. That's like
like 7
4 a game, 5 a game.
I thought it was like 6 point something.
6 something, yeah.
But yeah, like that was funny.
All right, we got a question in the chat, Drew. So Colby, welcome to the show. Should I drop Marvin Mims for Ray Davis PPR? I would say yes.
Yeah.
I don't think Marvin Mims is worth anything in a redraft format. Like, he's a great best ball get because you never know when he's going to go off for points. But I think Ray Davis, he has a role carved out on the team. He's an elite handcuff on an elite offense. To me, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of weapons in Denver now too, and he's not one of the clear-cut guys.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, they've talked about using him more, but they always say that about gadget players every year. They're like, "Oh, we're gonna do this, do that." Like,
they said the same thing last year.
Yeah, exactly. But he did win people a lot of money week 17, week 18 in best ball because he had 2 touchdowns and when you needed it. So
yeah,
great best ball play for me. Redraft, it doesn't really do a whole lot. So, Drew, we've got 3 picks left before we get into. We got 1 player left before we get into like defense kicker land. You mentioned Nick Chubb. You feel good about him. If he's starting, would you think that's worth kind of throwing that dart? Rashad White, kind of like an somewhat of an option. If you don't feel great about San Francisco, Isaiah Guerrero seems to have caught the running back injury bug along with most of the receivers. Trey Benson's still sitting there. I see Ray Davis. I'm going to click the button because there's not a whole lot more for me to talk about because I love that guy.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Zach would rather have Denzel Mims. I'd rather have Denzel Washington.
Denzel Washington. Love that. All right, so from a kicker perspective, I mean, I feel like we just got to take the GOAT. Not really a whole lot else there, but usually I would expect kickers in a real draft to get taken higher because people panic for whatever reason.
Yeah, they just like, we need to have the best kicker. And then that kicker ends up forgetting how to make a field goal. So I'm happy that Boswell.
Yeah, and I said this on a show last Friday, but Tyler Loop is not getting drafted appropriately for the offense that he's on right now.
Yeah.
He's in the top 3 offense in the league, and he's currently going off the board as kicker 11. Tyler Loop's probably going to be my guy come draft time. You look at like Evan McPherson, like he was hurt a lot last year, but he's still the kicker for the Bengals. Like that's something that you need to attack. Jake Moody, San Francisco has the easiest schedule in the league last year. Like I think for me, like
consistently.
We'll see. And then as far as defense, I don't know who plays who week 1 off the top of my head. But anybody that you're feeling strongly about from a defensive starting off? We'll just take the Chiefs. They got a good defense.
Like the Chiefs always have a solid defense.
Yeah. All right, so we can take a look at our board real quick, and then we'll actually answer this other question from Colby. So said also in my draft today, 10-man PPR, I picked 10 and 11. Neighbors and Collins fell to me. Then I traded Collins for Swift, Egbuka, and Gibbs. Thoughts? I mean, Gibbs top 3 pick for me. You're essentially trading Gibbs for Collins, Swift for Egbuka. Yeah, I'd probably do that.
Gibbs is the best player in the trade for me.
Yeah. And I think that there's also a lot of interesting talk about what's going to happen with Swift. I think the news about like him going back to Ben Johnson cast him out of Detroit, and that's why I had to go to Chicago. I don't think that's a real thing. I think that's just like a made up narrative that people have made. Knowing Collins' injury history, as much as I love Nico, to me, Gibbs is just so good that I'd rather have that. And the downgrade from Swift to Egbuka is worth it for me. So I think that you made a good trade.
I'm not a Swift guy either. I just don't. When I look at what Ben Johnson had last year in Detroit, I don't know what DeAndre Swift is. Like he's not explosive enough to be Gibbs. And I don't think that he's a powerful enough runner to be Monty. Like I just don't know what he is.
Well, if you look at the way that they're running right now, it's been basically Swift is like the primary guy, but then they have Roshan doing goal line work, and then Kyle Monunga is getting. I
love Kyle Monunga,
and I just like that because it's fun to say. So for no other reason,
I think Kyle Monunga is going to be the guy because he doesn't fumble. Like I don't think I think he has maybe 1 fumble max in his college career at Rutgers. Like it was something crazy like that. Like that's the kind of guy that Ben Johnson's going to want on the field. It's just obviously he's a 7th round rookie and he has to earn it. But like I like him a lot.
So I'm gonna be honest with you. I think our draft kind of sucked, in my opinion. I don't hate it, but there's a lot of stuff that I probably wouldn't do different. So we'll see what happens. I think going elite tight end and elite quarterback is just like something I wouldn't recommend.
Well, we got our top running back. We got our top tight end. Your top tight end. I'm with you on that though. Like I think Bowers and him are neck and neck. And I mean, we talked that we have Lamar as our top quarterback. If you get your top guy at each position, I like that. I do think that our receivers are good enough.
It's really going to come down to how high can Rice elevate his game and how much does Worthy take away from what Rice does.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. But that time with the suspension, you need these injury-plagued people to stay healthy.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. But cool. So, yeah, next week we'll jump into the middle of the draft. Drew, let's get back into our kind of stuff here. So we need to get
open yet, really quick.
Say that again?
You have that draft open or did you exit out?
It's just right here. Hold on.
Without saying the names, did either of our players for Only Fantasy get drafted?
No.
I don't think so.
Not even close.
Cool. Love that.
All right. So let's get this off the screen. Let's get us back to Pretty Land. But last segment of the day is going to be our Only Fantasy subscriptions for the year. Speaking of subscriptions, if you're liking the way that we're talking about ball, if you're having a good time on the show, if you feel like you're getting your questions answered, give us a like, hit the sub button, all that corny stuff that we say so that more people than our mom, Zach, and Chad are watching the show. But this last segment of the show are Only Fantasy subscriptions for the week. So what are we looking at here? every week we're going to tell you who we think our guys are. Now, in the preseason, that's going to look a little bit differently for us, right? So what we're looking at here right now is who do we think is going to have the biggest rise in ADP value because of their performance in preseason week 1. We're not going to count the Hall of Fame game because that's only one person. But Drew, week 1 preseason, who do you really like kind of evolving, showing up as a player going up the draft boards? Who are you looking at?
So my only fantasy for week 1 of the preseason is a guy that he's a veteran. He's been in the league for a while. He's gotten paid probably more than I think that he probably should have been paid. But it's Christian Kirk.
3-time almost Steelers legend, Christian Kirk.
Yeah, so he's currently going ADP 169.7 on ESPN, undrafted.
Nice.
Right now, in my eyes, he's the wide receiver 2 for the Texans. I think that their running game obviously is going to be hurting with Joe Mixon's injury. Nick Chubb is their ex facto 1 unless Mixon comes back week 1 and they have a committee. Damian Pierce works in there as well. I think that I'm a big Jaden Higgins guy. You're a big Jaden Higgins guy, but he's not going to threaten Christian Kirk because Christian Kirk's going to line up in the slot. His main threat is Jalen Noel, 3rd round guy. I think he was picked in like the 15th pick of the 3rd round. Majority of 3rd round picks do not contribute right away. I think that the stats I was looking at over the past 5 years, it was like 30% of wide receivers picked 3rd round or later don't contribute in the first like 10 weeks, essentially, like more than 12 points per game. So I don't see him as a guy that's going to overstep Christian Kirk's ability to get some targets. You already made, I think he owns them long term, but right now, Christian Kirk, he's making $17 million this season, guaranteed. Like that's a pretty decent chunk of change. I think it's not like bad. I was trying to look it up here. I thought I have it written down.
What are you looking for?
I was looking to see like how high he was paid compared to the other. He's making about as much as Jerry Jeudy and Cooper Kupp this year. Cooper Kupp, we already talked about that. Doesn't make any sense. But Jerry Jeudy's got a pretty decent deal after having a good season. But back to Christian Kirk. You already mentioned it. Their offensive line is going to be probably the worst offensive line.
It's easily the worst in the league. They traded away their best offensive lineman and then drafted a bunch of receivers.
Yes. Like their offensive line is going to be terrible. CJ Stroud's going to have to get the ball out early. Christian Kirk is that guy that's going to be, getting open early in the short intermediate game. That's where he does most of his work. Christian Kirk at 17th round is a guy that could easily be a flex play. And the reason why he's not being talked about is because the last 2 seasons he's been hurt. I mean, he tore his nutsack 2 years ago. Crazy injury, that groin injury.
A testicular torsion, if you will.
Yeah, that was rough. And then he broke his collarbone right before he was supposed to be a Steeler last year. Like, he's just forgotten about because of the injuries, but he's still a good player. He's a veteran. He's exactly what CJ Stroud is going to need, given the fact that offensive line is like horrific. It's going to be bad. I do think that Jalen Noel at some point could step in, but like I told you pre-show, Christian Kirk is a guy you're gonna draft. He could be a flex option, and he should be a guy that you move midseason in a trade. Sell high on him at some point because he probably will get overtaken. And also keep in mind that Nico Collins has struggled with injuries over the past several seasons. He could fall into a wide receiver 1 role within the first 5-6 weeks. We don't want that to happen, obviously, but like it's in the realm of possibilities where he's CJ Stroud's go-to guy early on.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't make sense to me how he's going undrafted because he has the opportunity, and that's really all you need in fantasy football is opportunity.
I do think what's interesting about the Christian Kirk thing is that if you look at last year when Diggs and Nico were both on the field at the same time, they were both doing really well. It looked like Stroud was going to be able to support them both. Then Diggs went down. Nico went down, so you never really got to see him do it for the full season. I always get nervous when you're looking at a secondary option of, is this a player that can support multiple fantasy relevant players? If you look at the way that the Houston offense is set up, there's not really a lot of options there, so they can hyper focus targets to like one or two guys on the team, where it's like it's not going to be kind of this spread out offense that you would typically see. So I like the pick. We'll see what happens. But
did you clarify that these picks are just guys that we think that their ADP is going to rise, not that like we love them? Like I don't
do you
have
not
any.
listen to me when I talk?
Well, it's just because of what Zach's saying in the chat. Like I think that he thinks that I'm viewing him as like this guy that's like going to be amazing.
I think you need to learn to not let the chat rattle you as you go on your rants.
I'm not. I just want to make sure it's
You
clear.
need to be zen. I said it. I spoke it. Well,
So what you're saying is that Zach needs to open his ears.
I'm saying that you are giving us more time than the hour that we are allotted for the show, and that we will have to pay back a penance because we're talking about things that have been talked about. So I'm stealing the mic. I'm muting you like Tony Reale. We're going to get after it.
I think my text message from you said earlier that I need to suck up the time. So I need to suck it up and deal with it.
I wasn't talking about the time. He said that Drew texted me separately to say that Christian Kirk will be a top 20 play. That's tough.
No, hold on. Zach texted me and I said, lose my number.
There's drama in the channel, folks. There's drama in the channel. I will not be the middleman for this. I do not get paid enough to mediate.
I haven't talked to Zach in 2 days
dramas.
besides sending him a meme this morning that he sent me 3 emojis back.
The streets be saying what the streets be saying.
I have the receipts.
I'm not going to mess with the streets because they allow me to use the StreamYard. So we're going to keep rolling. But, Drew, listen up. Here's the story.
I don't even know
about a little guy that lives in the blue world.
Oh, yeah, it's this guy.
My only fantasy for this week, who I think is going to rise in ADP, Jadon Blue, rookie running back, 5th round from the University of Texas. Hook 'em horns.
That picture makes him look bigger than he is.
Yeah, that's what I say about me on these streams. It's just
is that him?
Camera. That's who he is according to ESPN. We know in the past that I've flubbed on pictures, but I went to the site. It said the name. I did what I could. But coming out of college, he was labeled as a pass catching specialist with great speed. There was some questions about his commitment going into camp, but he said that only fueled the fire a little bit more. We already have Miles Sanders doing the Miles Sanders thing, missing time with a bone bruise. That's going to open the door for him. Javonte has looked pretty sluggish in camp so far, so I expect a lot of run from Jadon Blue and Phil Maffa to get some looks in these early preseason games. And I think because of the murkiness from that running back room, that we're going to see his ADP shoot up. So any thoughts on Jadon Blue about the Cowboys running back? Zach said, is that Big X the plug?
I don't think
that
I don't think that looks like him.
I don't know what you want me to do. That's what ESPN gave me, and I just clipped the picture from it for the show. So any thoughts, any feelings about the Dallas running back room?
I'm just worried that Javonte looks bad because I thought that was going to be a nice – I thought he was going to be a good 0 RB strategy type of running back.
Yeah. Another one that Drew won't mention because Drew refuses to follow in the mainstream footsteps. Drew's been on Torrey Holton for a long time, and he was really excited about going on to him in week 1. And then all the stories started showing up about Torrey Holton.
That's not what happened. You made me feel like crap about it, like I was wrong. And I was like, I'm not going to make myself look
No, I just said that I think Sam Darnold sucks, and I think they're going to run the ball a lot.
I think that I think that Cooper Kupp is going to be kind of out of the picture at some point. Torrey Horton's going to be that guy.
He could be, yeah. I mean, he's really nice. I like Torrey Holton a lot. But, Drew, it's that time of the night. We got things to do. You got to be up in like 2 hours because you're a doctor. That's what doctors do. But let's let the people know, where can they find you on the interwebs? What do you got for me?
You can find me at Drew Hannes. Nice and easy.
Bang. And if you're looking
for, I was looking at the chat. My bad.
Yeah. And if you got any more things that you need questions answered from us about, you can find us on X at AT412FF show. You are watching here or listening either on X on my personal account, JOEFRK, on YouTube at Around the 412, or on Twitch at Around the 412. It has been a pleasure getting back to y'all. We are going to be hitting new time this season, 8:30 Eastern time. Get the kiddos to bed, get a little drinky drink, check the notes, then we'll be on the show. Drew, any closing thoughts for you as we go into week 1?
No, just want to reiterate, the injury data mining spreadsheet I've been working on, it's work in progress. But again, throughout the week, if you have questions about any guys that you're worried about, send it over to our social media that Joe just talked about, and I'll try to prepare something because there's like 1,000 entries here. I actually really need to filter through some stuff and be prepared, pre-show. But I mean, I could filter during it. I'll hold everybody up, and then we'll be here till 10:30 instead of 9:45.
Good deal. All right, y'all. Well, this wraps it up for us this week with the Around the 412 Fantasy Football Show. I am Joe Frick. That is Drew Hannis. Until next time, my friends, and let's enjoy some football this weekend.